All right, and we're on. Welcome, everybody. We're back in daylight again, and the parking lot is full again. Sorry about that. But we are really excited to have all 161 plus of you with us today. I think I may be undercounting a little bit, so we're going to try and get a more accurate number. And what's really exciting is many new faces. So big welcome. All of you. I'm really excited to announce that as of last Tuesday, we had 319 members. Yep. With 18 new members who signed up in August alone. So that's super exciting. Sad as it is for me to say it, it is not my brilliant oratory or sparkling wit. You guys, thank you so much. That's bringing you all to the table. I know, it's Michelle Obama, it's Oprah Winfrey, and of course, it's Kamala Harris. So we are going to start off today's meeting with a brief, 3 minutes, so it is a brief video, and Jen's going to start that up.
In a world that seems peaceful and quiet, you will face your darkest fears. Whatever you do, don't look behind you.
Oh, it's just the mailman.
In a town where something isn't quite right. When you're all alone.
You know this is concrete, right?
Things will never be.
Come on, I'm just knocking doors. It's not that scary.
Well, it's a little scary.
Sure, I was nervous at first, but now I got this.
But
we'll show you how it's done.
We've been volunteering for 15 years. Talking to voters is how we win.
Talking to people and getting fresh air feels great.
The training took, 30 minutes? And then we were ready to go. You'll get a script and whatever materials you need.
You'll keep track of everything on an app on your phone, and it's really easy to use. You'll go to specific homes on a list where we know that most voters are Democrats, but they may need a nudge to actually go vote.
So many elections come down to just a few votes. Just asking them if they've made a plan is so important. It really does make them more likely to vote.
A lot of potential voters need that personal connection to get past all the noise and negativity.
Most folks are just busy and don't follow politics every day. Showing up and getting to think about voting is sometimes all that it takes.
An older woman told me that she was going to vote because I showed up at her door. No one ever knocked her door before.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are kind of scared or intimidated by it, but it's way easier than I thought. You don't need to be a policy expert or anything. It's just about making sure Democrats know when they plan to vote and giving them the right info.
And if you do run into a Republican, they're usually nice and just tell you. And that data helps us know who's who. And then you don't have to go back to that house.
I don't want to wake up the day after the election and wish I did more.
I never thought I'd knock doors, but I ask myself, am I doing everything I can to fight for my values?
Following the polls just makes you feel helpless. The polls don't vote. It's what we do that matters.
Because I know that every time that I get out to knock doors, we get a few more votes, and it really adds up.
If I'm concerned about what's going on, if I really believe that democracy is under attack, I need to step up. So I did.
I signed up. Come join us.
We said yes.
Knocking doors is one of the most important things I've ever done.
Join us.
The other day, our outstanding state representative, Chandra Dillard, raised a question on Facebook. How can Georgia and North Carolina be purple and South Carolina remain ruby red? I think Chandra knows the answer as well as many of us do. They work harder at it. Recently, I've been presented with a few harsh truths about myself. Boiling them down, I am demanding, I push too hard. It's hard for some people to feel the joy that they want to get from volunteering. They're not wrong. I am demanding. I both work hard and push hard. But I do take umbrage with the joy part. I see joy when I look out at this amazing congregation of men and women. And give yourselves a big hand. That you have found not only us, but each other and new communities that are so important as we go into this cycle, but will be important whether we have a cycle or we don't. I see joy when I'm in a coffee shop or at one of our events, and a few people will say to me that they didn't think there were any Democrats in Greenville County. Some of you might have been among that group. But they're here now and they feel so much better that they have found like-minded people. I see joy when community members greet us with open arms in friendship because we've shown that we care about their communities and will work to support them. I see joy when 46 people come out to learn about volunteering and without even us saying that we were going to make them sign up for something. Make is a strong word. We didn't make them sign up. Right? And when over 60 people joined us at our Kamala DNC watch party. These joyful moments tell me that we are building something strong and meaningful, that our hard work and attention to bringing women together, to caring for our members, to serving our community, to setting goals and working together to achieve them are all bearing fruit. And I will feel the joy on November 6th, when we have flipped at least one damn seat. When Taylor Culliver or Shauna Johnson, Fran Fowler or Octavia Amici, Kathryn Harvey or Corinda Beatty, Brian Best or John McCarthy have put a Republican out on the street. And I will feel the joy, as we all will, when we can call Kamala Harris Madam President. See, I'm pretty sure you all agree with me about that. But here's a hard truth. The joy is in the result, not necessarily the path to it. The getting there is not always half the fun. As Chandra posted, we must believe that our vote and activism can make a difference. We must educate, organize, strategize, and execute a winning plan to get our neighbors to the polls. If we want changes in South Carolina policy and political leadership, we must do something. South Carolina, she writes, needs you to turn our state blue. And there it is. The doing something is often work. It's going out on Saturday mornings to knock on strangers' doors in high heat and lousy humidity. It's phone banking and lid dropping. It's being involved in get out the vote activities, from driving voters to the polls to helping to make thousands of phone calls to voters to get them energized about our Democratic slate and give them the information that they need to vote. We try to wrap some fun up in it, stop for ice cream after canvassing, grab lunch, get dinner together after phone banking. But that still doesn't put these types of activities at the top of anyone's how I want to spend my summer list. To win a smaller voter pool in 2023, the Dow campaign started in April. They knocked on 8,000 doors. They did this with what the campaign describes as a hardcore group of 8 volunteers. And with both Dorothy and Shelley canvassing 6 evenings a week, believe me, the hardcore group of 8 volunteers, of which I am proud to be a part, did not knock on 8,000 doors. Dorothy and Shelley canvassed 6 nights a week. And Dorothy, of course, benefited from being the incumbent and being well-known in the community. That effort produced 6,000 votes and a victory. In some of our districts, our candidates could need to get upwards of 25 to 30,000 votes to be successful, maybe more. While personal contacts, as we did not see in the video, are the most powerful tools that we have, it's also true that adults need a lot of reinforcement. We have to hear or see things, sometimes 7 times before we really absorb it. That's radio, digital ads, social media, postcards, personal letters, conversations in the Publix parking lot with a neighbor. It's all part of the work we need to do if we want to flip that one damn seat. In the video we didn't see, one of the speakers makes a very important observation. I didn't want to wake up in the morning after the election and feel that I hadn't done everything I could. I know that everyone in this room is supporting Democratic candidates, not only here, but around the country. And many of us are actively engaged with campaigns. But we have to ask ourselves, can we do more? Am I demanding? Yes, I am. Do I push hard? Yes, I do. Because I want us all to feel the joy on November 6th. So let's commit to doing something, maybe a little bit more than we feel comfortable with. And let's go win this damn thing. Before we get started with the main program, I would like to recognize that in 2 days, we will honor Patriots Day, the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. As I learned last year when I shared my personal 9/11 experience, many of our members have a personal connection to the horrible events of that day. And all of us, I know, honor the heroism and sacrifice that it represents. So I'd like us to just have a moment of silence to honor those who were lost in the attacks, the heroes who risked, and the many who lost their lives, and pray that we continue to live in a country where this cannot happen again. Thank you. Okay, on to the excitement. We were expecting to have 2 candidates with us today. Unfortunately, Carl Allen is unable to attend, but I'm hoping he will be with us next month. So all you have is Taylor Culliver. So Taylor, you're up. Just a heads up, when you see me start creeping towards you, your 5 minutes is up. And I really don't want to do that, so Taylor, you, and we're not going to have a Q&A after Taylor speaks because we do have kind of a big program, but I'm hoping that he will hang around a little bit afterwards, so anybody who has a question can buttonhole him.
Got my phone to keep the time. I should get 10 minutes since Carl didn't show today. Wow, look at this crowd. Are y'all fired up? Are you fired up? I want to thank Democratic Women, Laura. I met with Laura back in April or May of this year. We had a sit down one-on-one, and I said, we are going to win this election because of this group of people. Because you all are the backbone of the Democratic Party in Greenville County. And if we had men working half as hard as y'all do for all of our campaigns, we'd be in pretty good shape. At the same time, I know you're exhausted. I know you're tired. The political atmosphere has been like this for the past 4 to 8 years. We got 57 more days, y'all. 57 more days. And I need you to commit today to doing everything that you can do. We can't all knock doors, but we can make phone calls. We can't all write postcards, But we can text 10 or 20 of our friends in our districts and say, you gotta check this guy out. Commit today to doing whatever you can do to make sure that we make good on Laura's promise and flip not only one damn seat, but 6 damn seats, so that we can send shockwave to the upstate and start making South Carolina pay attention to what's going on here. My name's Taylor Culliver. I grew up in Alabama, a town about 8,000 people. I graduated high school and went to the University of Pennsylvania, where I met my lovely wife, Nina. She deserves a huge round of applause because what she's going through to make this possible is incredible. We both became Ivy League graduates in 2015 and 2012, respectively. And I spent some time in New York working for Forbes Media before we moved down here. My wife got a job at Michelin, and we got here about 6 years ago. And from about the first month or two that I was here, I said, I think we can do this. Greenville feels good. It feels like it has a ton of potential. We will not make good on that potential, y'all, if we don't get those right-wing extremists out of office and start bringing common sense legislation back to our state house. 2 years ago, we had our daughter, Nova, who was just the most incredible bundle of joy. And when she was born, I both marveled at my wife's strength and fell head over heels for my daughter. And that first little smile, I knew that I was going to do everything in my power to make sure that she was happy, healthy, and safe for the rest of her life. Amen. And Senator Warnock, in his speech at the DNC, it sticks in my mind so clearly. He said, I need your children to be okay because I need my child to be okay. I'm fighting for our community because I need my daughter and my family to have the freedom and opportunity to live the best life possible. I'm fighting for reproductive freedom, right? I'm fighting for public education. I'm fighting for common sense gun laws that keep our families and communities safe. How many of you are tired of seeing your favorite venues and bars close around town because they can't figure out this liquor liability situation? My opponent, Ross Turner, is an insurance guy. You would think that he would be bringing some effective leadership to the State House to fix this problem. And for too long, the priorities in Columbia have been off base. And we cannot rely on Ross Turner to stand up and take heed and push back against the Freedom Caucus and the radical right-wing extremists. He voted for the 6-week abortion ban. He voted for the open carry gun law. He voted for the voucher schemes that will dismantle our public education system. He didn't stand up to the book bans. He didn't stand up for our small businesses. We can do better. We can do so much better. And I believe in my heart of hearts that we have what it takes to make sure that we fulfill our potential, not only in this community, but across South Carolina. So I need each and every one of you. Again, we go back, commit to doing something. There is such a lack of political courage in our state house. And with the absence of political courage there, it's asking all of us, what do I have in here? It's begging us in this moment to say, what political courage do I have to step up and make sure that we do all that we can throughout the next 2 months to flip one damn seat and send a message to South Carolina that we will not stand for this anymore. We're phone banking tomorrow from the GCDP office. We're canvassing every weekend. We have tons of opportunities that are available for you to get involved and get engaged. I need you. I need you because my daughter needs you. I need my daughter to grow up in a place where she has all of the rights and freedoms available to her and she can live an incredible life. So if not for me, do it for her, okay? Do it for my wife and do it for your families because that's what they deserve. Okay, we deserve better. Let's go out and do it. Thank you so much.
All guy must have been up there. Okay, most of us have heard and have probably donated to Priority 6. We are now in the heart of the election season, and we have Phil Ford with us today. He's the head of the coordinated campaign, to give us an update on the program and its progress. So Phil, thank you for coming. You have 5 minutes, and if you see me creeping up on you, it's time to wrap up.
I'll start running. Hey y'all, I'm Phil Ford. I use he and him pronouns. I'm excited to be with y'all again to give y'all an exciting update of Priority 6. We have been working with candidates for months, some almost a year. Taylor, I don't have favorites in Priority 6, but he's one of my bright spots from the very beginning. Talking to him and recruiting him to run. South Carolina would be a much better place with Taylor Culliver in the state Senate. And it has been my honor to work with Amanda McDougall-Scott and our next Congresswoman, Kathryn Harvey, who is here, the chair of the Spartanburg County Democratic Party as well on this project. So with that being said, you want to hear some numbers, right? All right. So throughout all of this work, we have narrowed down exactly who we need to talk to and exactly who we need to turn out. And that number, and I'm going to ask you this at the very end, so remember down to the one. 61,631. That is the number of likely Democratic voters who have only turned out once since 2016 in CD4. Yeah, we've got some work to do up here. But with that being said, we have narrowed that down to the districts that we are targeting. For example, in Senate District 8, there are 10,596. So we are going after all of these people, and we're going to turn them out. We are going to knock their doors. We are already making phone calls. To date, we have canvassed or phone banked over 13,100 of these 61,000 people for Priority 6. With that being said, these folks, of the folks that we have gotten on the phone and talked to, 70% of them have committed to turning out to vote this election cycle. That's because of the type of candidates that we have. That's because of this project, and that's because of the work that we're all doing to reach out to people. I'm proud to announce as well that the South Carolina Democratic Party is investing resources into this project now that they're seeing what's happening. The South Carolina House Democratic Caucus is investing into this work, and we are looking for some other $5,000, $10,000 donors. If there are any in the room, I can see you out back once we're done. But we have been supporting candidates from call time. I couldn't do what I do without Emily Mayer. You might have seen her in Chicago at the DNC on TV. But we are building something here that, like Representative Dillard said, that will change the trajectory of South Carolina. There are other parts of the state looking at what we're doing with Priority 6 and saying, how did y'all get this started? What are y'all doing? How did y'all target these folks? Right? We are making a difference, but we need your help. And Kat, I'm going to give you, see you back there. Kat has our phone banking list. We want you to phone bank from home. We've got the lists. We've got the script. The script is very easy. All it is saying, hey, I'm a volunteer from the Greenville County Democratic Party. I'm calling you because this election is important. Will you be willing to vote a straight Democratic ballot? And then we go down the ballot with them. We just need to ID the folks because we know that they are a 70% likely Democratic voter. We just have to talk to them and get them out. I see you creeping. I'm not gonna be creeping and take up too much more time. But what I wanna say is that we will be hitting billboards this week, 11 of them between Greenville and Spartanburg. We will be hitting mailboxes, 2 mail pieces between now and November 5th. And we will be starting radio, 6 weeks out. But we need investment in this project. One more thing, I will mention that we are bringing collaborative partners with us. The Gender Justice Action Fund, which is a C4 arm of the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network, is going to be investing in Greenville and Spartanburg because they see what we're doing to turn out voters. So y'all be excited. Y'all make some phone calls. Y'all knock some doors. Let's do something and let's win some damn seats.
Or as I like to put it, the next U.S. representative for Congressional District 4.
Do that to the universe. Just like Laura, keep putting that into the universe. Your future Congresswoman. My name is Kathryn Harvey. I am going to be your future Congresswoman for U.S. And I'm just here to share a couple of things as we're less than 60 days out. We are going to have a meet and greet event on September 23rd at Community Tap here in Greenville and September 30th in Travelers Rest. Information will be at kathrynforcongress.com this week, but this is a real opportunity for you to invite as many people who can fit in there to really learn about this campaign and ways to support. As much as we've been working the last few months, folks are really just starting to pay attention and realize how much choice they have on the ballot here in Greenville and in the upstate. And it's wonderful because we're all ready to meet the moment. I mean, this room proves it right here. Phil told you who we're targeting and how we're going to turn out those voters. And I just wanted to take 2 seconds to tell you how we're going to flip this seat. For the first time, probably in my lifetime, we've actually been able to conduct a poll as a Democratic campaign. And these are a couple things that came back in our poll this week. Of the 500 and something folks that were polled later in August, only 37% said that they think William Timmons should be reelected. 45% said it's time for someone new, and 18% were not sure. That is numbers we can work with.
That's right.
That says an incredible amount of how many people are ready for change. We also heard that we asked folks if they would be open to voting for a candidate for president and a candidate for Congress who are from different political parties. 40% said yes, and 13% said not sure. That means almost half of voters would be willing to split a ticket. Y'all, this is major stuff that we can be working with in the upstate across the board. And finally, we asked folks if they would be more willing to vote for a candidate who's defending reproductive freedom, including the right to access to contraception and IVF. And 45% said they would be more likely to vote for a candidate fighting for those things. And 10% said they were unsure. Over 50% in every single one of those categories. That is a congressional seat flipping percentage. And you add in those 60,000 voters, this is possible. We have variables at play right now in this district that have not been at play in my lifetime, and Taylor's lifetime, and Shauna's lifetime. It's our moment. We have to get folks out. I'm honored to be in this room with y'all. Y'all are going to be the ones that make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, about the frightening goals of Project 2025. The mandate for leadership of the Republican Party if it should win the White House this year. For those who have read the articles or news stories, it was a good impetus to vote before we had Kamala Harris on the ticket. But while we should all be encouraged and energized by her candidacy, it's dangerous to assume a victory in such a highly polarized race. a lesson we learned painfully, I think, in 2016. Our featured speakers today argue that Project 2025 represents a clear and present danger to South Carolina, regardless of the outcome of the election. The Republican supermajority in the state legislature had its way with us last year, passing many bills that don't have the approval of a majority of our residents. The 6-week abortion ban, permitless carry, redirecting public education funds to private school scholarships, the Transport Act that keeps trans students off the playing field, and so much more. Our speakers today, Josh Malkin, the Advocacy Director of the state ACLU, and Greenvillian Courtney Thomas, who is back home. Welcome, Courtney. She is a senior advocacy strategist. See Project 25 as a blueprint for red states to take the victories of this year even further. I want to remind everybody before I bring them up here that if you have questions for our speakers, there are index cards on your table. Those of you along the side, I'll get some index cards over to you and some pens. Please write your questions on the index cards and hold them up, and somebody will come and collect them from you. So at this time, please welcome Josh and Courtney from the ACLU.
Okay. Josh is going to come up a little later. I know this is out of character for me, but the man coming to speak after me does have something very important to say. All right. Good afternoon, Greenville. I come from a tradition of call and response. Good afternoon, Greenville.
Good afternoon.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Just for context coming to you, I spent over 10 years in Greenville after being a Furman grad and being very involved in the Greenville political scene. So it's good to see some friendly faces. I do come to you with not so friendly news about Project 2025. When I heard that y'all wanted us to talk about Project 2025, I volunteered for this half of the presentation because I was curious, but also because I was an admitted skeptic. Yeah. Like you, I watched all the news coverage and I read the articles about Project 2025, and it seemed like a lot of hand wringing. You know, like this can't be real. This can't be true. Like this is, no one's trying to do. It seemed like a useful political tool to energize people, right? And I was like, there's no way that this is actually as bad as people say it is. And somewhere around that 300-page mark, I moved from skeptical to worried. And by page 400, I became alarmed. So I'm here today to tell you, as I'm sure you all know, Project 2025 is very real and it is very dangerous. Okay. By now, I'm sure a lot of you know that it is the brainchild of the Heritage Foundation and several other conservative think tanks. Many of you may already know the direct South Carolina connection that the Heritage Foundation does have. So as South Carolinians, I believe it is our charge to clean up our own messes. I'm just saying. And I really want to focus on Project 2025 as this like monster with two heads, right? It is destruction and it is creation. So it is the destruction of norms, civil rights, protections, bureaucracy, and the Constitution. And it is the creation of an authoritarian state. Okay. Just to briefly editorialize, because that's why you invited me, it does read like a laundry list of grievances. The main of which is that they have had it too good. They means you and definitely me have had it too good. They want to take back the liberties and freedoms and rights that have been guaranteed to you, not just by the Constitution, but by generations of people fighting, bleeding, and dying for those rights. In their opinion, the freedoms that we have all won, the freedoms that we are all owed, are taking away from the freedoms and rights of white, heterosexual, Christian, conservative, married men. So keep that kind of underlying thing in mind. And I'll just go through a few of the highlights. It's 900 pages, y'all. We're not going to get through all of it. I do encourage you, if you have the stomach, to read what you can, because I think it's important for people who care, people like us who care, to read the source document, understanding that a lot of it is kind of whiny, but with like some policy inside of it. But I also think it's important for us to be able to read the words on the page and then also understand what the actual meanings are. Because on its face, there are some things, if you're just reading the words, just reading the sentence, some of it sounds kind of reasonable, which is dangerous, right? I call it a manifesto because that's kind of my energy, but it doesn't read like that. It reads like an actual policy paper, which is dangerous. I also think it's important to not allow this kind of rhetoric to be normalized, but we should engage with it because this is something that is very real, and we also need to be prepared on our own front to take it on head on. So remember what we talked about earlier, destruction, creation. Let's talk about education first, okay? It would eliminate the US Department of Education. It would eliminate the US Department of Education. Now, a lot of the things that we're trying to do, my first instinct was, you can't do that. You can't do that. Yeah, they can. It would take, I don't know, maybe a supermajority in Congress, which is what they're aiming for. And it would also take expanded control at the executive branch. And guess what Section 1 is? It's about the role of the president and the White House. So they're preparing a runway for the creation of their authoritarian state by expanding the powers of a single branch of government. But back to education. So in the first part about education, they really extol the values and virtues of local control of education. South Carolinians, how are y'all feeling about local control of your education? Yeah. They also would, something that sounds good, minimizing red tape of bureaucracy, but actually what they need is destroying any and all references to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So those darn bureaucrats want children to learn about accurate history. Those darn bureaucrats want to make sure that LGBTQ+ children feel safe and welcome in their classrooms. So it would also eliminate Title I funding entirely. It would, over a 10-year period, restore the Title I funding responsibility back to the states. So let's just clear up some of what that language means. They want South Carolina to have the sole responsibility for caring about poor children. All right. It would also eliminate tenure and loan forgiveness. I mean, there's a lot. It calls pronouns compelled speech. But let's move on to another quick section because, I mean, the man coming after me does have really good things to say. And I want to get to them. But in the world of reproductive health, rights, and justice, if you care at all in any measure about bodily autonomy, about an individual's right to choose what they do with their body, this is a section for you. Now, attacks to reproductive rights are scattered all throughout the document, but a really helpful place to start looking is the Department of Health and Human Services section. They would remove the word non-binary from data collection in the Department of Justice and the Offices of Civil Rights. They would also remove all of the expanded protections of Title IX that include gender expansive people. So essentially, they would be taking away any legal protections that trans people have when they face discrimination in our society. It perpetuates bigotry against trans people under the cover of protecting women and girls. So you might think like women's sports is really just the beginning here. It promotes social contagion theory. And of course, you know, what we're all thinking about when we say reproductive health rights and justice, it would absolutely eliminate the right to abortion, full stop. They don't say it outright, but they go piece by piece. They start with medication abortion. They attack the FDA. They want to break the FDA into two parts, and that would also mess up, you know, your vaccines, Medicare, Medicaid, you know, little stuff like that. And what's really important about this attack on reproductive rights is that it lays the groundwork for a much more intense authoritarian state. Because the second you are able to control what I do with my body, all the other parts of civic life fall like dominoes. And moving on to civil rights, it would further enable domestic extremists by refocusing the Department of Justice on violent crime, which of course is a red herring since we know violent crime is decreasing. But the really important thing to know about the civil rights section of this, they don't call it that, but it would transform the Department of Justice into the executive, you know, remember that executive with expanded power, the president. It would turn the DOJ into the president's personal revenge machine. Because right now we have a very clear firewall between the Department of Justice and the president. So the president can't say, hey, that guy upset me in a hearing, go investigate him. Doesn't work like that right now. If Project 2025 becomes a reality, the chief prosecutor of the United States, our attorney general, becomes a personal lawyer of the president, essentially. And there's so much more, y'all, there's so much more. But the reason why the South Carolina American Civil Liberties Union is talking about this, because a lot of what I've already said, like attacks on trans rights, attacks on abortion, attacks on education, these are already realities that we've seen here in South Carolina, not just last session, but for decades. I see some current and former legislators here, like y'all have been seeing this for decades. And Project 2025 did not come up out of nowhere. It has been funded for years. It has been researched, that's a light term here, researched for years. But I also want to emphasize the importance of the actions of individuals with Project 2025. Because what it does, it expands the power of the individual executive, but also individual appointees of that executive. It also has individual authors of each section. One of the authors of the education section does live in Greenville, but I emphasize the importance of the individual because it took a lot of individuals to create this 900-page manifesto. And it will take a lot of individual actions from individuals in this room to prevent Project 2025 from coming to pass. And we can start doing that in South Carolina. So I'm going to bring up Josh so he can tell you what you can do in South Carolina, because believe it or not, we're already living some of what's in this document. So, Josh.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I was looking for the right starting spot. You found it for me. Congresswoman Harvey, if you would cover your ears for 1 second. Earmuffs. It is so good to be amongst the best damn advocates in the state of South Carolina. Now, I'm not a zoologist, so please don't call me out if my zoology is wrong, but it is my belief that in the natural kingdom, the lioness does all the hunting, does all the gathering, does all the childcare, while the lion sleeps for 23 hours a day. So I want you all to tell me when I'm coming to talk to the lesser halves, the sons, the nephews, the fathers, of the Greenville Democratic women, because I think it's about time we wake some lions up and that our women shouldn't have to carry the load entirely by themselves. Raise your hand if you know who you're voting for president. Cool, me too. Raise your hand if you know who you're voting for Congress, U.S. Congress. Excellent. The South Carolina State House. Raise your hand. You lie to me, I'm gonna know. There's about 170, I'm clocking every one of you. State House, we know. I expect to see some hands drop off. Raise your hand if you know who you're voting for County Council. County Council, Greenville County Council. Okay, look at those numbers drop. Raise your hand if you know, don't lie to me, if you know who you're voting for Greenville County Public Schools School Board. Look at that, look around you. I appreciate the honesty. Only 2 people in the room are lying to me. Appreciate the honesty. Laura told me not to move. It's the rage, Laura. I can't just stand here. I've been told there is an orange skin puppet running for president. And my incredible colleague, Courtney, just outlined some of the animuses that hope to drive him if he is to win re-election. That man is just that. He is a skin puppet. Project 2025 does not go away when Kamala Harris becomes the 47th president of the United States. And I cannot be optimistic. I'm known around the state for having no ability to be optimistic. So here's where the cynicism comes in. When Kamala Harris becomes president, we will continue to have a woke federal government. And the backlash against that in South Carolina will be swift and it will be vicious. So please do not think for a second that after Kamala Harris becomes the 47th president of the United States, that your work is done. The burden of your work just shifts. Another hand-raising exercise. Raise your hand if you're familiar with our state's abortion ban. Okay. Raise your hands if you're available. If you're familiar with our state's gender-affirming care ban for our trans youth and trans adults. Raise your hand if you're familiar with our state's permitless carry. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Regulation 43-170. Raise your hand if you know what the Greenville Library Board and its infinite wisdom is. Okay. All right. Take this moment to shout out Freedom in Libraries Advocacy Group. It was just over 2 years ago. I sat at a small table with Patty Bynum. And I'll tell you, the policy that is passed, which is amongst the worst censorship policies in the United States, that makes it impossible for any child to check out a book with a trans character at a Greenville public library. It took them, an explicitly transphobic board, 2 years to do that because Greenville fought back. So does that law sting? Absolutely. But does the fact that that took 2 years to happen in Greenville, South Carolina, that is a win. Greenville, South Carolina fought back. We did everything we could to stop that from happening. Regulation 43-170 is Ellen Weaver's book ban regulation. I know more about book bans in this state than anyone else. It's not a flex. I'm sad. I'm a lonely man. Family is elsewhere. But I'll tell you, around the state, when you had 1 or 2 individuals challenge 97 books, 93 books, 523 books, thanks Dorchester, books largely went back on the shelves because there was a community-based process folks read the books and they said, I see the value here. I see your complaint, but I see the value here. That upset book banners who couldn't just automatically impose their worldview on their community. So they went to their friend, their buddy, their sleepover partner, Ellen Weaver, and they say, what can we do? What can you do as an individual? To get back to Courtney's point, as an individual, what can you do to make sure that we are imposing our worldview on all students in South Carolina? And that's why, without the legislature ever taking a vote on it, we now have a statewide policy that bans every book with excretion. Excretion, I'll just take, it's not a word we hear every day, so just excretion, genitalia, sexual conduct, sexual violence. Now, to get a little bit more into the animus I see driving Project 2025, where is Laura? I got time, Laura? Okay, I'm good.
5 minutes.
Thank you. Behind a lot of this, as Courtney mentioned, is a desire to rebuild what the structural family is allowed to be in America and in South Carolina, because these policies can be enacted in South Carolina as well. And what that family looks like is heterosexual parents who are both there, both present, and children. What it also looks like, what I believe it also looks like, is women explicitly being under the dominion of men. So when we talk about, because why are we banning books with sexual violence, right? And you listen to book banners and maybe they have some compelling points, but why are we systematically erasing knowledge of consent? Safe knowledge of consent. It's so that our young people, our young men and our young women don't know what consent is. So when they're in their relationship, they don't know that what's happening to them is a violation of their rights and their bodily autonomy. That is the world the architects of Project 2025 seek to build. And when Kamala Harris wins the presidential election, that agenda will be very, very present, not only in South Carolina, but in Greenville. So my charge to you, as the best damn advocates in the state of South Carolina, after Election Day, pay very close attention, continue to pay very close attention to what's happening in Greenville County. Your county council is about to get even wilder. You need folks at least watching every county council meeting. Your library board. I've been in front of a lot of boards, a lot of elected and appointed officials. I said, from my opinion, your library board is the worst governing body in the state of South Carolina. Watch your library board. Watch your school board. Your school board just canceled book fairs. I think canceling book fairs is weird. I think that's a weird thing to do. But when they say they are just trying to comply with Ellen Weaver's overbroad and vague regulation, they're not all the way wrong. Did they have to cancel book fairs? No, they didn't. But if they are trying to comply with the letter of that radically drafted and passed regulation, they're not wrong. So your school board are not the villains here. The villain here is Ellen Weaver. While we were in the process of trying to fight back against that regulation, who did she fly up to see? No one feels confident about this. I'm hearing some Donald Trumps. That's a good guess. Heritage Foundation, I heard it. She went to meet up with the Heritage Foundation where she did a panel with Tim Scott, and she said, I think we could probably stop taking money from the Department of Ed. I think we should start putting six children at a time in abandoned churches. This woman has made her entire career trying to dismantle public education. And now she is in a position where she is overseeing South Carolina's public education. And it is trickling down here. All that to say, through Phil, Courtney, Emily, and myself, you have met more than half of the folks that do this work at the State House. And I love to be up here with y'all. I come up to the upstate real quick, a good Greenville Library Board meeting. But I need y'all to keep doing exactly what you've been doing. You need to show up and hold your local elected and appointed officials accountable. And we may lose. We may lose. You got some scary folks running around Greenville. We may lose, but you're only truly losing if you're not fighting back. So you let me know when I can come stand and fight back with you. It's been a pleasure. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get yelled at real quick. An announcement, real quick.
Go.
Laura, I'm sorry. The Children's Committee. The Children's Committee is a coalition of legislators, department agencies, and concerned citizens. They genuinely care about children more than our General Assembly does. They take a traveling tour every fall. They'll be in the upstate on
Spartanburg. They'll be in Spartanburg at USC Upstate on September 24th from 5 to 7.
We'll make sure information gets out about that, but that is a great opportunity, especially for folks who don't have a lot of experience testifying. It's not hostile, just for you to get up there and talk about an issue that affects children that matters to you. All right, thank you.
You have any questions? I don't see any cards. No, you gotta write it out. You gotta write it on a card.
Oh, you got
Nobody listens to me. Who's got cards?
I just want to say something about the library.
Everybody wants to say something. Thank you.
Oh my God, you got me up here talking.
Well, you
So
wondered.
My name's Olivia Robinson. I'm from Buffalo, New York, go Bills. And you talk about the library board and people, you don't think it matters. So I'm retired. And I thought, oh, I'll go read books to kids. I can read, right? So I had to go, I thought I would go read books to kids. And first, mind you, I retired from the federal government. I had a level 3 security clearance, okay? I could like make $1 million decisions. But now for the library board, I had to go through this whole process, whatever. And the girl, when I go to meet with her, she says to me, well, if the kids ask you any questions, you can't really answer them. Like you can't really, I'm like, what do you mean? And Arthur the Aardvark was one of the books on the, I'm like, Arthur the Aardvark? I just want to read 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, go, right? So you don't understand how important your library board system. So anyway, she gave me all these rules. Mind you, she's like a 25-year-old blonde girl, but anyway, she gave me all these, and I just thought, you know what, this ain't for me. So I'm not reading books to kids because I couldn't follow the rules. So you don't even understand how important your library system is to your community. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you, Lorraine. All right.
Okay. I'm gonna read this exactly as it's written because I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'm sure that our smart ACLU folks will. Since there are still part of the laws of coverture in the Constitution, I feel that once they control a woman's body, the easier it will be to return back to the laws of men controlling women again. Is this possible?
Yes. No, but on that note, I will say that I think I shared this with y'all last year when I was here. There is a bill called the Ban on No-Fault Divorce. So the way it works right now is, surprise, surprise, if a woman's unhappy in their marriage, they can file for a divorce. What this bill does is it says at the time of marriage, when you go to get your marriage certificate, you need to check off the reasons that would be acceptable for you to get divorced. And if you want to get divorced and it's not one of those reasons, you can't get a divorce. So yeah, absolutely, control of women is a very big part of the agenda, yeah.
That's been kind of apparent for a while, unfortunately. couple of people want to know if are any kind of research materials or cliff notes or things with slide numbers or page numbers that you could not necessarily tell us now, but maybe send me that I could send out so that the people who are looking for that more detail. Do we have something like that?
It's in development. It's 900 pages. Give me a second. But yeah, so I can just direct you to certain sections. I do have some footnotes, but we can see what we can do. It won't be comprehensive because that's long. And a lot of it is whining, so.
Whining. I like that. I like that. What?
Just say something about that. I have a friend who was a former CIA agent who's now retired and part of a network of government retired people who has read the Project 2025 and pulled out the most alarming quotes and made graphic slides of each one with a page number that the quote comes from to use to disseminate to people who, like you, Courtney, were skeptical in the beginning. And she's trying, so I put a question into you to offer the slides that she's prepared and is sending to me that she wants me to try to get out and share with people because she's already done all this work.
Is this yours?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Can you share that with me?
yes.
Okay, great. Okay, somebody wants to know what happened to the lawsuit against Weaver's fake degrees from Bob Jones University. The Miracle Masters.
Yeah, this is a favorite of folks. That lawsuit never happened. I know a bunch of legal organizations talked about it. As you can imagine, the legal resources in the state are pretty thin these days, and that lawsuit was never filed.
She finished, they rushed her degree through.
Correct.
She got a quickie degree.
Correct.
Yeah, very quick. I don't think a woman's ever been in a classroom after elementary school. Since we are being so successful, is there any way we can start an initiative to, I can't read that, something similar groups all over the state and send out missionary groups to plant new congregations? Whose question is this?
I'll take it where I want it.
You want to take it where you want to go with it? Okay.
Oh, God.
It doesn't matter.
So how are we basically disseminating the information? Is that your question? Gotcha. So I think the first thing folks can do is sign up to be a volunteer with the ACLU. We also have one of the QR codes on the table on your way out. You can also join our list at aclusc.org. But I think what you're doing right now is some of the, thank you very much, Phil. Yes, come on, Vanna. Absolutely. But I do think just having those conversations with people in your life is one of the best ways to do it. The ACLU, we are a mighty staff, but we are a small staff. So we do rely on volunteers and advocates like y'all to get the spread the word. But since you said congregation, I do also want to put a quick plug in for a coalition that we're supporting. It's called the Faith and Justice Table. If you are a faith leader of any religion and you're interested in advocating, we do need strong, progressive voices of faith leaders at the State House who are willing to speak truth to power, because right now there's only a certain kind of person of faith at the State House, okay? That's as nonpartisan as I can keep it, but we do need your help. So come see me afterwards if you're interested in mobilizing your faith leaders.
I'm gonna add to that a little bit. If you're here as a member of the League of Women Voters Greenville, can you raise your hand? That's right, that's right. All right, if you're here as if representing the Greenville NAACP branch. Excellent. If you're here representing the Freedom in the Libraries advocacy group. Yeah, if you're here representing PFLAG. So I will say that each of those groups does amazing advocacy work in their own sector. If you can get in the ears of your peers around the state, their branches are not as active as y'all. Courtney and I are happy to travel. So you let them know that there are angry ACLU folks willing to come talk to them, let them know what they can do. We will happily make that trip.
Thank you, guys. This was great. Really appreciate it. If there are any questions that we didn't answer, I will get them to Josh, and I'm sure he will send me back some responses, and I'll get those out. But we do have to move on a little bit. Okay, please hang with me for just a couple seconds. I know we're a little bit late, but I want to tell you what we're doing next month because it's going to be a big meeting. Crystal Spain, the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, will be our guest. And she'll be talking about the coming election and what we can expect to see over the next month to take this home. We'll have 3 candidates, Brian Best, John McCarthy, and Ennis Fant, and possibly Senator Allen. Also, the nominating committee, this is election year, the nominating committee will present its slate of candidates for Dem Women positions for 2025 to 2027. There'll be president, first, second, third, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. At that time, we will accept nominations from the floor. So after that, the election committee, which is a committee of the board headed by Peggy Schatz, will send out a link via email because we will be voting this year digitally. You will not have to be in the room and be here that day to be able to vote for your leadership. Those of you who are members in good standing by October 1st should all be able to vote for your leadership. So that will be how we do it this year. That was in the bylaw changes that you all approved a few months ago. We're also going to be creating a big human video birthday card for Kamala Harris, who will turn 60 on October 20th. So wear your Kamala shirts, wear your local candidate buttons. We'll be videoing. We'll get a lot of people, little groups of people wishing her happy birthday, and we'll try to do one giant picture. I don't know how it's going to work either, but we're going to give it a shot and see if we can get Crystal Spain to deliver it before her birthday. So we'll give it a shot. It will at least be fun to do. So I hope we will see a record crowd, which I find it hard to think we can beat today, but 184. 184. Whoa, you guys. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming, encourage our candidates who are here to hang around and speak to members. I hope you moved your car.
People want to know where is Senate District 8, because a lot of people live in Senate District 8, they just don't know it's their district. And please tell us where that is. We don't want to lose
all through the middle of the.
If you need to know where Senate District 8 is, you can go to taylorculliver.com. We have a map right on the website. It starts basically at Greenville Memorial Hospital. That's the northern tip, and comes all the way down through Haywood, Malden, Five Forks, Simpsonville, and Fountain Inn. So it's most of Greenville County. Go to taylorculliver.com. You have a map there. Look at the map. You may not be in the district, but listen, you have friends in the district that you can text to tell them that this seat is flippable. So please take the time to do that. Thank you, Ms. Viola.
Thank you, Taylor. If you're on Instagram, you can also go to our link tree on Instagram, and there's a link there to find your SC legislators.